Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman. Now I want to welcome you to another edition of Seaman's Cinema Sitdown. Oh, April 14th has finally come. Winter is finally here. Oh, it is time, man. We just got done watching the first episode of Season 8 of one of my all-time favorite shows. And now it's time to do it up American Horror Story style. We're going to do a recap review, show some live reactions for every episode of the season. It all starts with the very first. So why don't you pull up a chair, man, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in spoiler filled into episode 1 of Game of Thrones. That's right. If you were watching along with me during Game of Thrones this year, much like I did American Horror Story, it will be a spoiler review and recap after every episode. If you've watched the episode and you want to know what was going on, I'm going to give you as much detail as I can. We're going to break it all down. We'll throw some reactions in there. I've got the cameras going for every single episode this season. I'm really excited to have fun and do this like we did with American Horror Story. And then we'll wrap it up with a live watch party for the finale in 6 weeks. Only 6 weeks? Oh. I just finished my rewatch. It took me a little over a month. And binging Game of Thrones, now having to wait week by week and knowing that we only get 6 episodes and they're not even all feature length. Ugh, I'm not going to lie to you. One of the first frustrating things I got is we got through the end of this episode and I'm like, if this was 90 minutes, we could have cleaned up a lot more and been moving faster into episode 2. But as we stand, episode 1, pretty solid, man. Much like I kind of expected tonight, a lot of setup. You kind of knew this would be a setup for the big things that are coming. So I think they did a pretty good job. This episode is all about reunions and first meetings, and we get to see a lot of players and characters getting back together or getting to play with each other on screen for the first time. And there were some really nice moments. And this episode is actually filled with nice moments. And I turned while I was watching the episode to my mom. I went, I tell you, they're getting all the good and fun things out of the way now because it ain't gonna be so bright and cheery after we get through this episode. And already, by the time you get to the end of the episode, you kind of feel some of the darkness that's moving in.
Oh, get all the happiness out the way now, because everything after this is gonna be bad.
So let's get right into it, man. Let's crack this bad boy open like a nut and run through everything that happened in episode 1 of season 8 of Game of Thrones. Winter is finally here. I'm gonna be saying that all season, man. First and foremost, I've always been a big fan of the opening sequences in these shows, and I like how they kind of change based on what location you're hanging out in. And now as we get into season 8, there's really only 2 places we're hanging, and a third one that we had to kind of show that I thought was super, super cool, man. The opening for this episode was awesome. It's all King's Landing, and it's all Winterfell stuff. We get to see the crypts be built down in Winterfell. We get to see the Iron Throne be built in the opening in King's Landing. And we get to see where the wall has dropped. And there's a big old gaping hole, and there's a nice little blue marking showing you where the Army of the Dead is heading. I loved it. I freaked out so bad that you got to check out my reaction.
Thrones time! That's awesome! There's a hole in the wall! Oh my gosh! I love the opening so much, man, because they tell you where they're going and it changes. Look, and everything's white because winter's here. I love that! This show's so good. Oh, that's so cool. They just built the crypt. That's the Stark's crypt. Oh, this is a completely new opening. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. What? The Iron Throne? Oh, that was awesome!
I mean, like I said, man, I told you, I freaked out. I was so excited to sit there like, oh, that's new. Oh, that's awesome. Because it was. And I like that Thrones started it out that way. I mean, it got us excited within the opening minutes. Because, I think they understand, like, people weren't too happy when we found out these weren't all 90-minute episodes and we've shrunk the season. So, boom, start us out on a positive right away. Got me excited, got me geared up to get into this episode. And then we get to go to an opening that's so reminiscent of the very first episode. Game of Thrones so good at doing these full circle moments where, way back in the day, episode 1, we saw Robert Baratheon come into Winterfell and this wonderful reception as everybody from the Lannisters came in and everybody in the awe and power and beauty of, the Southerners coming from King's Landing up to, the North and Winterfell. Now we open with another entrance. Also quite spectacular to watch as Daenerys and Jon and all the Unsullied and everybody comes up, into Winterfell. but the reception a little bit different. As we remember from the end of season 7, Sansa, when she got that scroll, not too happy that Jon was going to bend the knee and give up his kingship, and most of the North not very happy with that. And you could see a lot of angry people, but also people who were interested. It was really cool to watch Arya kind of step aside to let a kid get a good view, because she was that kid when Robert and Cersei and everybody from King's Landing came all the way back in season 1. So it was kind of cool to see that happen again. So good with the full circle of moments. But also to see that some people angered the awe when the dragons came. So, it's different faces had different things going on, man. People were scared, people were mesmerized, and people were like, this is not good. The Northerners not real big fans. But I kind of like that opening. I like that we kind of got that full circle moment, and I like that it wastes no time in giving you what the North thinks. I mean, they have a big gathering, and they talk about, like, we said we would back the King of the North, not the Mother of Dragons. And even though Jon pleads with them, we all have to work together, including the Lannisters. Tyrion brings it up, and people not happy. And he's already lost a couple bannermen. The Umbers have bounced, even though they were like, we'll stand beside you for 1,000 years. But behind Jon, not behind Daenerys. So a lot of tension, but also in this opening, a lot of wonderful meetings. I was really, really happy to see Jon see Bran right away. What an embrace they had. He hasn't seen him since, him or Arya since he left for the Wall. And then I like that he asked Sansa, where's Arya? And she's like, oh, she's standing watching somewhere. You can't keep tabs on Arya. And then Jon and Arya do get a moment out front of the tree. And again, also really beautiful, but tense in kind of like an awkward way, where you get this like wonderful, oh my gosh, man, we're waiting to see these two reconnect, because they had the most love for each other growing up. Jon, I think, always cared about Arya the most and kind of respected her the way she deserved to be. Whereas Arya kind of was the only person who really showed a lot of, straight out love to Jon besides Ned, and occasionally, Bran and Robb. So it was nice to see that sweet tenderness, but at the same time, I think Jon makes a comment about, Sansa, man, she's tough. Where were you? I could have used you when I was trying to win over Sansa. And she's like, I'm in Sansa's court, man. She's just looking out for her family, and I'm with that. And she kind of says that, and then Jon goes, well, I'm her family too. And Arya goes, don't forget that. And that's very key, because we know Jon is only their cousin in reality. He is not a Stark. He is indeed a Targaryen. And we'll get there. But it was really nice to see them getting to meet back up. We get a little bit of Tyrion and Sansa, which again is another one of these moments that's kind of nice, but also really tense. It's like if Tyrion would have come up alone, I think he probably would have been welcomed quite warmly by Sansa, because of all the things that happened to her. Tyrion always looked out and tried to keep her safe when they were together, or when they were forced to be together. So, you have that stuff kind of working, but because he's brought the Mother of Dragons and the Lannister army, supposedly coming, she is like, Tyrion, I thought you were smarter than that, man. You kind of, Tyrion's, what? It's like, you think that Cersei's really going to send the Lannister army? And Sansa, the first and only person to recognize Cersei's not going to do it. So, it was cool to see them kind of have that interaction. But again, one of these nice interactions we were hoping to see. A lot of tension and turmoil kind of churned up within there. And everybody plays their role so well on screen. And while all this is going on, we also get a couple other, people seeing each other for the first time in a long time. Arya and Gendry. First Arya kind of sees the Hound, and they kind of have an exchange, kind of acknowledging, like, it's great that you're still alive, but there's something off about the two of them. Arya left him to die, and she thought he'd probably be dead. So there is a little tension between them too, but then no tension, but sparks between Gendry and Arya. Really cool to see them get back together and kind of express that, like, kind of fondness that they had for each other when they were back together with the Brotherhood. Cool to see that, and Arya coming asking for a spear, like a dragonglass spear, very similar to the weapon she used when she was training with the Faceless Man. So I like that stuff, man. It was nice. Again, they threw in a lot of nice little moments, even if there is tension in some of them, because I don't think there's going to be too many nice moments after this episode. And we got our nicest moment after, we kind of see some of this tension. We had this meeting with everybody. Dany and Jon kind of walk off on their own to talk, and they go out by the dragons. And it's a moment I think we've all been waiting for forever. Why don't you check out the reaction first?
It's gonna be Jon's dragon. He's gonna attack that dragon. Jon gonna ride that dragon. Are they gonna ride it right now? John's gonna ride a dragon!
Whatever you got.
Oh, man. Oh, my God. Oh. John riding a dragon! This looks like they're getting ready to make a ride somewhere. Like right on the back of a dragon. It's like a roller coaster. Oh my gosh. Oh, he's nose diving. Pull up. Oh, man.
Like right away, man, episode 1, we get to see Jon Snow ride a dragon, and it's awesome, man. It's probably the most fun you have the entire episode. Just getting to see the kind of flirtation between, Dany and Jon, and the fear of Jon while he's trying to figure out how to fly a dragon. He almost falls off a couple times, and he ends up, while they're flying and following, you're watching. It kind of looks like a roller coaster. Maybe Game of Thrones is gonna get placed at an amusement park somewhere, and that little Harry Potter video roller coaster ride could be riding dragons. That's what it looked like. But it was cool because then all of a sudden you see Jon finally figured it out a little bit, breaks off and takes Dany to the place where they used to hunt the waterfall, just the most beautiful place you could find in Winterfell. And you can just see that they are quickly falling in love more and more every time they are together. But there's some big news looming over this episode toward the end. And like I said, we will get there. But still, after this, we still have some more meetings. And these are first-time meetings. Daenerys Targaryen finally meets Samwell Tarly, gets to thank him for saving Jorah, and Jorah is there. And it's a really wonderful moment that very quickly gets spoiled because we know there is more between these two than just that. The other connection, when she finds out that he's a Tarly, she had his dad and his brother in prison, and he hates his dad, so when he finds out that she killed him, it hits him because it's still his dad, and he's hurt a little bit, but he's like, you know what, at least I can go home now that my brother is ruling. And then Dany drops the big one, like, your brother also didn't bend the knee, and he suffered the same fate. And I appreciate that Sam didn't flip out on her, didn't lose it. You can tell emotionally he is stricken really badly, and he's trying his best to hold it all in. But I like that he doesn't react in anger, because he understands what Jon is trying to do. He understands what Daenerys means. Instead goes, excuse me, and walks out and kind of has his emotional burst there. And really touching to watch and sad, but one of those things that, was going to happen at some point. And boom, we get it out of the way in the first episode, and more of these wonderful meetings, but mixed with this kind of tension and not so great things too. So a really, really wonderful scene. I thought that they acted it quite well. And you feel all of that, like, oh man, you're so happy, and then boom, it comes down really, really fast. So after Sam, runs out, he kind of gets to release and cry, he sees Bran. And when he goes to Bran, the first thing he's like, what are you doing out here? And Bran's like, I'm waiting for a friend. And we thought maybe he was talking about Sam, but what we find out at the end of the episode was not Sam, it was somebody different, and we'll get there. But then he says, it's also time. We have to go tell Jon the truth. And he's like, okay, let's go. And he's like, no, you have to. And Sam's like, wait, you're his brother. He's like, you're more of a brother to Jon than anybody. And he is going to have to accept this. It's going to be tough information to get. But in order for him to receive it, it's got to come from someone that he trusts wholeheartedly. So Samwell goes down into the crypts where all of the major reveals about Starks seem to happen. All the clues and mysteries of the crypts, and we get, like I said, get to see it built in the opening. We know there's a lot that is in the crypts, and it means so much. So for this moment to happen there, very, very fitting. And Jon is taken aback, man. He's like, you're telling me that my dad, the most honorable man alive, lied to me. And Sam's like, yeah, dude, he promised your mom that he would protect you, and that's exactly what he did. Robert would have killed you if you knew where you were a Targaryen, so he had to do what he did. And you can tell Jon does not know how to take all of this information. Because it means major things. Like, Daenerys is queen. Jon is the rightful heir to the throne. So I was waiting for Jon to be like, no one can ever know about this, Sam. Like, we can't tell anybody. But he doesn't do that. And the look on his face, it just tells you, like, he's probably going to hold on to that for a bit, because if Daenerys finds out, now he could become an enemy because he is in her way, but we know Jon doesn't want the throne. So I was kind of surprised they didn't tell Sam, like, don't tell anybody. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But not everything was going on at Winterfell, man. When we were talking about the beginning of this episode, the other place we're hanging out is down in King's Landing. And when we get down there, man, things are not looking so great for our party up in the north, man. Cersei is getting her fleet ready to go do whatever she wants to do by not going to the north and kind of reclaim some of her lands. You see Euron's fleet is there, and Euron finally gets what he's wanted, a night with the queen. And they have this kind of interaction where, he of course wants to compare how he is in bed to both her husband and Jaime. He just can't leave well enough alone, and she's like, you're good, but that was great. Wonderful. Now I want to be alone. Get out. Cersei's still that cold-hearted woman that she always is. But, and then Euron makes like a motion, like, I'm going to put a baby in that belly. We know there's already a baby in that belly. So just a little back and forth with them. And we also come to find out that Euron has brought the Iron Banks mercenaries, the sellswords from Bravos, that we saw Cersei talking to the Iron Bank folks with toward the end of last season. He's gone and secured them. Unfortunately, not everything she was hoping for, like elephants. They died during the trip. They're not very good for sea. But she does have this massive army of mercenaries now. So she's ready to go. And the one other thing that she's got to take care of, she's got 2 brothers all the way up north. And we get this funny little sequence with Bronn where he's with 3 women, kind of a Podrick type scene. And before anything can get going, Maester Qyburn comes in. He's like, I have urgent news. Like, the queen just sent me down here real fast. And he gives Bronn a gift. And that gift is a crossbow. And he tells him that Cersei is demanding that he go north and kill Jaime and Tyrion with that crossbow. And if he does, she'll give him more money and better things than he could ever imagine. Anything that has been promised to him before, she's got to make right. Stuff that Jaime promised and didn't pull through on, she's like, I'll make it right if you go kill these 2. And we know Bronn, it's all about that money, and he can certainly think about what to do with lots of it. So I imagine that we'll definitely see him ride north. Whether he can pull the trigger on his friends Tyrion or Jaime, I don't think he's gonna, and I certainly hope he does. And Bronn's one of those guys I've always liked, but someone who can be bought. But you'd hope he couldn't be bought for Jaime and Tyrion. So it'll be interesting to see where we go there. And then, while we're up there, man, Mr. Greyjoy, when we last saw him talking to Jon, said, I gotta go rescue my sister. So this is one of those situations where, 1, not having a 90-minute episode hurts here, and 2, only having 6 episodes. This is an invasion of some sorts. Theon and a small group of Ironborn go into Euron's ships to steal Yara. Why she's on the ship and not somewhere in King's Landing in a prison, beyond me. But they go in, they get her, they get out. It happens real fast because it's one of those things that has to happen, but because we don't have the time to spend there, even though they said we were going to, it kind of happens a little too quick. But wonderful to see, man. And the interaction when they finally do meet back up was great. Check out this reaction.
Theon! Let's go! Get Yara!
Oh, he's there.
Yes.
He's there.
You always forget Theon's great as well. He's like an expert marksman. Yeah. You deserve that. We came back.
I said, man, when they get back together, it's perfect because you can feel it coming. Like, Yara's gonna get released, but she's pissed because Theon bailed. And she headbutts him in the face and then picks him up and hugs him because they know that's all we've got left. And what's really awesome, another kind of throwback back to last season, Jon said, go save your sister. She's talking to him and can tell. She's like, you want to go to Winterfell to help Jon. She's like, go. Go to Winterfell, go help Jon. Do what you got to do. While Euron's here, the Iron Islands are open, and I'm going to go hit those, take them back. So God forbid you need to retreat from Winterfell, where's the quickest place you can get to and safest. The dead can't swim. Get to the Iron Islands, and they'll have refuge. And then we got a moment that even I wasn't ready for. Let's check that reaction out.
Holy crap, Tormund's alive? How did any of them not die? That entire wall fell. No, it's gonna be. Who else is down there? Oh. He's got blue eyes! I've always had blue eyes!
Dude, like, I never in a million years thought that Tormund would be alive. When you saw Eastwatch collapse on that part of the wall, how anything he's watched is still standing is beyond me. And how they're all alive and unhurt, also beyond me. But loved getting to see Tormund and Barrack and everybody back together and still living. And then, like I said, again, they're kind of moving through some of the hallways of Eastwatch, I guess, and they're looking to see if there's any whites or White Walkers, and they hear noises, and boom, who is it but the Night's Watch is ridden down. So by the time we ended last year, Dany and Jon have gotten to Winterfell, the White Walkers and the Whites have gone past the wall, and the Night's Watch has gotten down to Eastwatch. And while they're all there and they're kind of reunioning, we see a terrifying image of a little boy pinned up on the wall with all the limbs making that funky circle symbol that we've been seeing since season 1 that we know is tied to the Walkers. And then they scared me. Reaction!
Forget about the dead.
He's alive.
Just have to hope the Night King doesn't come back.
Yeah, set him on fire, Barrack. Oh my gosh. That was terrifying.
I mean, they can see it coming, and they still got me because it was just the sound that kid made, terrifying. And then to watch it all light up, though, beautiful. You see that swirl just engulfed in flame, and you're like, oh man, that is not a good sign. That is a sign left by the White Walkers saying, hey, we were here. Anybody that still survived, now we're in between you and Winterfell. You trying to come south, you're going to have to go through us. So we don't get to see the army of the dead yet. But we know that they are already through the wall and they are marching down toward Winterfell. And where they'll get to first is the Umbers Castle. And if you remember Jon giving the home back to the Umbers, and the young son has told him, go there and get everybody back before the White Walkers and Whites get down there. So we know. And then we see some scenes for next week. We're finally going to get into that action. So there was a lot of setup going on here. And then one last piece dropped in. And they just kind of dropped it right at the end. And then I was like, 90 minutes, we should have seen that play out and then get into it. A masked man arrives in Winterfell, and you're sitting there and you're going, who is this masked man? I'm like, it's not Cold Hands. If frickin' Benjen Stark comes out and Jaime Lannister has made it to Winterfell, under cloak and, kind of hide, in disguise, under nightfall, kind of getting in, hoping to that not be killed by people of the North, maybe be able to find Tyrion or Jon or somebody and explain, Cersei's not sending anybody. It's just me. And Jaime, he can't hide from Bran. Bran knows everything. So Bran is right there. They see each other, and you're like, oh, man, we're going to get the Bran and Jaime moment, and black. So, boom, I wish 30 more minutes, man. We could have had that moment, gotten all of our reunions out of the way, and then be focusing on the White Walkers and the Whites coming. But we got some things to clean up next week. You see they're going to address Jaime being in Winterfell and the fact that the Lannister army isn't there, and Tyrion was wrong. Very, very excited, man. Like I said, it's a nice episode. We got niceties. We got a lot of smiles, a lot of laughs, a lot of moments and things we wanted to see, things we've been waiting to see, like Jon ride a dragon. And all that tells me is before he can ride it in battle, he might not get to ride it the way we all hope he will. Like I said, my theories and predictions, if you haven't seen them, you can check them out up here, are kind of dark. So we're getting to see and enjoy Jon riding a dragon. Probably something we won't get to enjoy maybe later on. So I love that we got to get that and a lot of the meetups, and introductions and reunions and all of that out of the way as we set up the bulk of season 8. Now 5 episodes. Just 5 episodes left, man. All we got is 5. But it seems like the action is certainly coming. So there you go, man. That is my recap, review, thoughts. A solid episode, but a setup episode as I think we should have all expected, especially knowing that the premiere was like a week ago. You didn't want anything major to get leaked out. You weren't going to kill anybody major. That's why I thought Tormund and them might be the ones we find out dying. There you go, man. A solid setup episode and hopefully even better stuff to come. So there you go, man. Now you got all my thoughts. And now it is time for your thoughts. All my Game of Thrones peeps, man, let me know what you're thinking. What did you like or dislike about the episode? What were some surprises maybe or things that you were like, oh, man, you got excited to see? Things that you're hoping to see now that we've had some setup? Things you wished you could have seen? Did you wish this was a 90-minute episode? Leave all of that down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, you want to come follow along on all of our Game of Thrones fun as we go episode by episode every Sunday night, go hit that subscribe button and then the little bell so you get alerts, and you'll know every time I make a new Game of Thrones video, or any video for that matter. So there you go, man. 1 episode in the books. I am so pumped to be doing a series with you guys again, because I really do enjoy doing the series stuff. It's a lot of fun. But episode 1 is in the books. I can't wait for episode 2. It seems like the action is going to pick up, and I'm sure the season will pick up quickly. We saw that last year, so I'm super excited. I think we're off to a good start. So for the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down, Game of Thrones style, episode 1 of the books, I'm Seaman. Now I'm signing off. Peace. Well. If you aren't still here, looking for something else to check out that's Seaman related, why don't you check out a video like this guy or this guy? And if you really want to help the Seaman out in year 2, hit that subscribe button and come join the Cinema Sit Down squad, kids. You know what to do. See ya.